I was 11 years old when I picked up my first drug. I remember thinking, everyone is happy and laughing. I just want to feel the same. At 11 years old, I was full of loss and despair. I thought drugs would fix me, but they didn't. There was something in me that told me I needed to change the way I felt, that I needed to chase my first high. My life was robbed by my need to be emotionally numb. I used till I was 22, and I now have almost 3 years clean. According to the Addiction Center, 21 million Americans have at least one addiction, yet only 10% of them receive treatment. With this kind of epidemic, why is there not more talk about this? Many people believe addiction is a choice, but it is not. Addiction is a disease. I chose this topic because not only have I been through this, but a lot of times you may have family or friends struggling with addiction or alcoholism. Today I will be speaking about the epidemic that has plagued humankind since man crushed grape or rolled leaves for smoking, the abuse of mind and mood altering substances. I will be informing you on some of the causes of addiction, some of the challenges of overcoming addiction, and some different treatment options. When you imagine drug addiction, it's almost certain that these are the images your mind will conjure. Yet in reality, this is the face of addiction in America. The causes of alcoholism and drug addiction are not always clear and come from many sources in the individual subject, ranging from genetics to abuse resulting in depression, prescription painkiller withdrawal, pain management programs, institutionalized living, dependency on anti-anxiety medication, trauma, stimulants prescribed in treatment of ADHD, and the list goes on. It's almost impossible to determine the cause until after effective treatment is deployed, and at that point the cause is somewhat irrelevant. The causes of addiction and the recognition of its development are the signs displayed by its progression. According to the National Institute on Drug Abuse, genetics, including the impact on one's gene expression, account for about 40 to 60% of a person's risk of addiction. So there's the brain on drugs and off of drugs. Dr. Smith was quoted, "We have progressed from viewing addiction strictly a criminal condition to recognition that addiction is a disease intimately intertwined with the workings of the brain and its neurochemistry." Which leads me to my next point, the challenges of overcoming this disease. I want to be very clear. There is no cure for addiction. One of the first challenges an addict faces is the mental defense of denial. Every addict has to admit they have a problem before any treatment can begin or be effective. This brings us to any reservation an addict is holding on to. A common example of a reservation being, if I lost my parents, I won't be able to handle it sober. Which brings up another challenge of the ever-present chance of relapse. Since there is no cure to addiction, relapse is always a possibility. This brings me to my last and my final point, different treatment options. To paraphrase Dr. Bob, co-founder of Alcoholics Anonymous, he thought the most efficient treatment to alcoholism was to work through the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous with another recovering alcoholic. In almost every case I've witnessed personally, addiction is not treatable until the addict has what I like to call an ego death, a result of rock bottom before they can conjure a mental defense or justification to continue their destructive behavior. Detox being the primary treatment for immediate mental and physical symptoms of addiction, followed immediately with a 12-step program and intensive outpatient or inpatient treatment. It is often also important, once one has become accustomed to a 12-step program, it may be necessary to get a further program focusing on emotional sobriety, meaning counseling for past trauma, service work for another struggling addict, or even moving into a transitional sober living house. They also have programs that wean you off of opiates, but these programs can and will be abused if not followed correctly. The best form of treatment from drugs and alcohol are the abstinence from mind and mood altering substances. In a brief summary, we learned addiction is a disease and there is no pinpoint cause. We discussed that there is no cure and relapse shadows addicts daily. We also explored different solutions and treatment options. I would like to thank you for taking the time to allow me to inform you about addiction. Thank you.